Francis, and we are live from the Zildjian Sound Lab. Today we want to give you a sneak peek into some of the great prototypes that we're going to bring to the PAS convention that's being held next week in Indianapolis from November 13th through November 16th. As I go through the prototypes, we welcome you to give us your feedback in the chat window as I play each, and after I go through all the cymbals, we're going to take some questions and hopefully answer some more of your questions, just like we did that during the last live event. One of the first questions that I do want to cover is, why do we make prototypes? Well, prototypes are sound ideas that people have that come from Z Club members like yourself, and we try to create sounds through the manipulation of metal. Prototypes can be a good investment, gives Zildjian a good idea on great new sounds to make, and you guys can have cool new cymbals. Sometimes they're one of a kind, because sometimes they don't make the catalog. And they consist of some very small hammer marks and some very big hammer marks. And we call them fat hats because they have a really fat, rich sound, which is different than some of the other Ks or K customs or even A Zildjian cymbals. It has a medium thin top with a medium heavy to heavy bottom. It has a really nice solid chick, and they're just really fun to play. So I'm going to play them now and go through some different sticking so you can hear them. We've brought these particular prototypes out last year, and they were so popular that we're bringing them back again so more people can have experience with them. Moving above the 15-inch K-Custom fat hats, we have some little effect cymbals. We have an 8-inch Oriental and a 10-inch Oriental Mini China. And we were asked by one of our artists, Gil Sharon, who plays with the band Stolen Babies, if we can make these small Chinas, because he likes to incorporate them in his setup, and he does some stacking and little special effecty type of things. Originally, the smallest size in the Oriental was a 12, so we want even smaller. So I'm going to play these for you right now. Here's the 8. So it's very bright and kind of has a tonality to it, and it's really, really fantastic. And the 10 that's right next to it. And when you get a little bit bigger with the diameter, you get a little bit more of the trashiness in there. This third special effects cymbal, I'm going to hold this one up. This one has a whole bunch of half-inch holes in it, and this is a 10-inch A-Custom EFX. Some of you Z Club members might have seen this during our Rarities program that we were running about a little over a year ago. And this was offered kind of like a limited time offer cymbal, and we're bringing it back again. We're bringing it to PAS, and I think we're going to put this in the catalog next year. Now, unlike the other A-Custom EFX cymbals, these ones just have half-inch holes. We didn't put the slots in it. We're achieving the same type of white noise trashy sound with this whole configuration without having to do the slots. So I'm going to play that, and I'm going to show you some cool stacking that you can do with this as well. And you'll also see this if you're at the PAS show, how we have them displayed. We'll have some stackers displayed, and then we'll have them displayed individually. So here's the A-Custom EFX. And it's very, very cool. So if we take this and we place this on top of the 8-inch Oriental, you get a nice, bright, kind of staccato stack sound. And that sounds great. So if we put it on the 10, you're going to get an even tighter sound, and it sounds like this. And you can put the China on top of the splash or under it, however you want to do it, whatever sound that you're trying to achieve. And again, that's the 10-inch A-Custom EFX. Now moving to the right of that, we have a 19-inch K-Custom Fast Crash. One of our artists in Germany had asked if we would consider making a 19-inch because in the K-Custom Fast Crash family, the largest one that we've made is an 18. So I set out to make some 19s to see what it would do. This is a paper-thin cymbal, as all the Fast Crashes are. It's heavily hammered, it's lathed, it's hammered again, and then we put this brilliant finish on it. And this cymbal sounds like this. So even for a 19-inch cymbal, it's very, very thin, it's very, very quick. It's got some highs, and the bell shape helps with that. If you remember my discussion on bell designs and what they do during the last live web. And it has some nice dark tonalities as well. So this is a great addition to the setup. And we're going to bring it to PAS to see what the feedback is from all the drummers there to see if we should add it to the catalog. To the right of that, although this is a prototype, it's really not a prototype. This is a 20-inch this is a 20-inch K Dark Crash Thin. This was in the catalog about 6 years ago, and as musical trends go, they go from small cymbal setups to big cymbal setups, and we've noticed that a lot of drummers are using bigger cymbals now. So we've decided to bring this back out, and I've made some to bring to PAS so drummers have an opportunity to get it before it goes back into the catalog again next year. Like all the Ks, it has a lower shape, it's got random hammering, it's got a large bell in it, so it will project, and it's thin as well. And that sounds like this. And it just has a nice, rich, full, dark sound to it. To the right of the 20-inch K Dark Crash Thin is a 20-inch Zildjian flat ride, which is on the thinner end. If you remember from the last web cast, I was showing a lot of the redesigned Zildjian series cymbals. And we used to make a flat ride years ago, but it was more in the weight range of a ping ride. So since we kind of tweaked all the shapes and all the weights and whatnot, I decided to make some flat rides just for fun. And this one's more in line in the weight of the new 20-inch Zildjian medium ride. And it sounds like this. It's got some great stick definition. It has a really crystal stick sound when you listen to it. A couple rivets, maybe a cluster of 3 would sound great in this. And we'll probably have 6 or 7 of these at the PAS convention if you want to come and check them out. And if we get enough great feedback about it, we'll possibly throw that in the catalog too. Moving on to the next cymbal to the right of the flat ride. This is a 20-inch K Constantinople Renaissance prototype, and I'm going to hold this up to the camera. We designed the 22-inch K Constantinople Renaissance ride with Adam Nussbaum, and he wanted to also have a left side ride, so he wanted to make a 20-inch version. But as you can see, it doesn't really look similar to the 22. The bell's a lot smaller. There's none of the cluster hammering that is in the 22. This bell is over-hammered, and then we have one row of hammer marks here that just bumps up the shape a little bit that helps with the stick definition. The reason that we're over-hammering the bell like this is to control the chiminess of the bell. So you get a bell sound, but it's more integrated into the sound of the cymbal. The cymbal is thin, and it sounds great. So I'm going to put it back on the stand, and I'm going to play it for you now. So here's the 20-inch K Constantinople Renaissance prototype. And you'll notice that the bell's not chimey like on this crash here. It's more integrated. And it activates the whole cymbal. And one of the things that you'll notice at the PAS convention is that on the jazz-style rides, like the K Constantinoples and some of the other ones that we'll have there, we're starting to write the gram weights underneath the bell, because we know that that is something that the drummers have been asking for, and they look for specific weight ranges when they're picking out cymbals, so we're going to accommodate you by doing that. So again, this 20-inch K Constantinople Renaissance ride prototype is on the thin side. So it's going to be anywhere between probably 1776 to just under 1900 grams. To the right of the Constantinople is a 21-inch K Custom organic ride. And I've been working with Pat Petrillo on this, and this is kind of a cool ride cymbal. It has a dual finish to it. You can see the top is heavily hammered, but it has a very dull appearance. It's a sandblasted appearance, whereas the bottom is highly polished. Originally, when working with Pat, both sides were polished, but the cymbal was ringing too much for him. He liked the stick, he liked the bell, but it was just kind of getting away from him. So he asked, is there a way to tame it down? So we sandblasted the top, and that maintained everything he liked and just brought the sound back a little bit for him. And we'll have a good selection of these at PAS as well. And let me play that for you now. And that's a 21-inch K Custom Organic Ride prototype. Now, not to leave out the orchestral players, I have a really great set of K Symphonic hand cymbals, and they're in a 22-inch diameter, and we're bringing just a couple pairs of these. And I'm going to hold up one of them, because these are kind of monsters. They're anywhere between 7.5 and 8 pounds each. And the original K Symphonic series was developed with Mark Demalakis of the Cleveland Orchestra. And he had a few pieces where he needed a larger diameter set of cymbals, so I made a handful of 22s for him. And the other orchestral players, and even some drum set players that heard them at a PAS convention a couple years ago, really, really liked them. So we made some more to bring out for people to try out and give us feedback and maybe even purchase. So I'm going to play these now. And you might want to turn your speakers down on your computer, because these are very, very loud. And you can hear that there's a lot of low fundamental because it's a 22. It has some great overtones in it. Now, as I said a minute ago, there's a lot of drum set players too that were checking this out. And this has a high enough bow that you can ride it like a ride cymbal. And it has some great tones to it. So I'm just going to play it. And it rings forever because it has this really, really large bell in it. And you probably remember that from the last webcast. And this bell came out of an old set of Constantinople hand cymbals that came from the Cincinnati Orchestra. So we kind of copied that and put it into a lot of our K Symphonics. So before we take questions from the Z Club members, we want to remind you about watching this. There'll be a replay of it if you missed any section of it. And I think we're ready to take some questions.
David would like to know how many people listen and agree on a sound solution you may be working on before you move forward to replicate and reproduce the cymbals.
Well, we have two types of R&D groups here at Zildjian. We have a very, very large one that gets together and we kind of talk about ideas that are coming in. But there's a smaller group that actually evaluate prototypes when we're working on them. We call that the R&D sound team, and we have a few members from marketing and sales, and we have some people from manufacturing. We all play cymbals. We all have a drumming background. And what we do is we take a look at the input criteria from the idea, and then we'll evaluate the prototype to see if it matches the input criteria. And that's how we see if we're heading in the right direction. Great question.
Our Z Club member Michael is asking, what's more important to you when assisting in the development of prototype cymbals? Are you shooting for a particular sound palette or just an overall great sounding cymbal? What is your thought process?
We want both. We usually have a specific sound in mind that we're trying to create or recreate, but we want the cymbals to be good sounding in general on their own, meeting that input criteria as well.
Glenn is asking, does it take days, weeks, months, or years to develop a cymbal that goes into production?
It takes longer than I think people realize. From inception to the time that we actually start shipping cymbals, on average, it takes 2 years to develop a new cymbal, especially if it's a line of cymbals. If we're doing something that has several models in it, we'll go after probably crash models first, and then we'll get into the other models. And we get prototypes out to artists to road test for us, and we get feedback from them. Sometimes we'll bring stuff out to PAS like we're doing next week, and we're going to some sales events, and we'll bring out prototypes and we'll get feedback that way. And as I said, it takes about 2 years from beginning to end before you'll see a new product hit the catalog.
Nick is asking you, which prototype in the past has proven the most rewarding and most involved to bring to production?
I think my favorite project, I'd have to say, that was the most rewarding at the time that led into other cymbal development and metal processing was the 22-inch K-Custom Dry Complex with Bill Stewart. Bill, as some of you know, he would play some older K-Zildjians that had a very, very high shape, kind of like an umbrella. And he liked cymbals like that because they had a K flavor and also kind of like a oriental type of flavor to it too as he crashed it. So there was a challenge in that to get all those parameters correct. And it was a fun time developing that cymbal with Bill because Bill being a drummer, he liked to stay up late at night. So instead of having it come in during the day, we worked on the second shift here in the factory. And I remember kind of hitting on the design because it was 2 a.m. I remember Bill playing all these prototypes. It was actually out in the factory. We set cymbal stands out in the factory, and we were near some hammers and some lathes. And he was playing, and he finally said, "That's it." So that was one of my favorite projects to work on.
Nice. Terry is asking you, what are the common elements artists desire in a cymbal?
The common elements. Well, all artists want good overall sounding cymbals. They want a good stick sound when you're riding it, kind of a clear bell sound, unless they don't want the bell sound to be clear and they want it more integrated. They want a good crash sound. So they kind of want elements where you have this, and that there's no muddling, there's no overlapping kind of mess in the sound. They want the piece of metal to sound good no matter how they play it.
Here's a good question from Zolt. He's asking, larger 16+ inch hi-hats are becoming increasingly popular, with players often using 2 crashes together as a hi-hat pair. How do you go about designing larger hi-hats, and what advantages do they offer compared to using 2 crashes?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you can use 2 crashes to make a set of hi-hats. We don't usually design a set of big hi-hats like these 15s or 16s based on the weights of crash cymbals because it doesn't necessarily give you a solid chick sound. It all depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a really washy set of hi-hats, you'll go thinner, like the K light hi-hats. You had a very thin top with kind of a medium weighted bottom rather than a medium heavy to heavyweight bottom. When we go to design any type of hi-hat cymbal, we're looking for a good stick good chick sound, kind of like these 15s here that I played in the very, very beginning. You want a good stick sound on each individual cymbal, and then you'll marry them together so you know that they sound good. So you want all of those elements to work in tandem. Now if you want a really washy set of hi-hats, you can take two sets of cymbals, two thin crashers or something like that, and put them together, but you might not get the chick that you want. So you might have to mess around and go with a thin crash and then a medium thin crash on the bottom. But whatever sound that you're looking for is something that you should definitely try. There's no limitations.
Kevin is asking you, are cymbals made by hand or machine or a combination of both?
Well, it's a combination of both. We have a lot of different technologies that we use in the factory, and we try to keep one foot in the past and one foot in the future to, marry everything together to make sure that we're providing the best Zildjian cymbals that you can buy.
Here's another good question from Tyro. What happens to those cymbals that were once prototypes and never went into mass production? Do they go into an archive or are they destroyed and recycled?
Well, usually when we prototype something and we take it out to PAS or a sales event, we get feedback, and I'll archive some of these prototypes for a while, maybe a year or two, but we have limited space in the factory where I can archive stuff. And I'll hold on to some stuff in case, something happens and somebody needs a replacement. But usually after about a year, if they're still kicking around, that really means there's no demand for them. So we'll recycle them and we'll use the metal to make new prototypes.
And our last question today comes from Eric. He's asking, what is the craziest cymbal idea that has ever been submitted?
Ooh, the craziest cymbal idea that's ever been submitted. I've had a cymbal that was a triangle shape, that was kind of like a flat ride. That was a crazy idea. At the time, what I thought was a crazy idea was eventually ended up being a trash former. And that's one of the most popular models that we ever made. There's really no limitations now to stuff. There's no crazy ideas. There's no limit to what we can do with the cymbal designs these days. So we welcome you to continue to submit ideas to us, and we'll see what we can come up with. So we do have a winner for the 20-inch Renaissance ride, and I have that winner right here. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, drum rolls on your computer desks. So the winner of the prototype 20-inch K Constantinople Renaissance ride is Carl Pops Palermo. So congratulations, and you're going to get this one right here. I promise, with all the stick marks and everything. So we want you to watch the replay on Zildjian.com if you missed any part of this. We want to thank you for joining us. We encourage you to attend the PAS convention next week in Indianapolis, and watch for the announcements for the next live streaming event from the Sound Lab. Thank you very much, and have a great day.